Hello and welcome to the second lesson in the UNIDO SPX program. My name is Richard Keegan and today we are going to talk about the UNIDO SPX Partnership. The outline of the lessons we will talk today about are cost control and pricing policy, technological improvements, total quality management and client certification, organisation of work and sustainability. Each of these topics will be dealt with in this lesson and in turn will be dealt with in further detail in the other lessons in the programme. Cost control and pricing policy. The key concept underlying this lesson is that of partnership, and all the topics will be talked around in relation to partnership, as cost control and pricing policy is a key element of partnership. Partnership has a number of aims and objectives. One of the primary aims is to achieve better subcontracting arrangements. We're not talking about one-off, quick sale type activities, but rather partnerships where better subcontracting arrangements can be developed and created between suppliers and buyers in a sustainable way. A second aim that most buyers have is to get access to raw materials and resources. In the world today, access to resources is a key feature of business. Raw materials are becoming more difficult to obtain. Having people to be able to process them and to be able to bring them to market is becoming more of an issue. And one of the key aspects of partnership is to create that access to both the raw materials and the resources for buyers and suppliers. But there's another aim and several other aims, and one of those is to reduce the cost of investment. If you're a buyer organisation that has to invest in all the time, the space, the people, the machinery, the resources to produce subcomponents, it means that your business financial requirement is much higher than if you can find a supplier who will invest that necessary time, effort and money to provide the materials and the activities you need. So by creating a partnership with chosen suppliers, in actual fact, a company is able to reduce the cost of its own investment. It's important for suppliers to realise this fact, to realise that they're actually creating a partnership as opposed to just delivering products to their buyers. Because when you understand that and understand the value that you bring to your customer, to the buyers, you begin to understand the benefit that you can bring to them in the total value of the relationship. UNIDO is trying to drive and to support the creation of a move from contractual to collaborative relationships between buyers and suppliers. The UNIDO SPX system is trying to create this positive interaction between buyers and suppliers, where there's a more equal discussion, where there's a positive on both sides, and where there's a longer term relationship developed between both the buyers and the suppliers, ensuring positive interaction into the future. It's important to realise that as we talk about cost control, that reducing cost is not about reducing margin by itself. It's possible to sell a product cheaper, to reduce your margin, to cut your prices to the very bone. But in actual fact, the focus should not be about reducing margin, but should have a focus on non-value added reduction. The concept of non-value added is an important concept of good practice and best practice, and will be dealt with in many of the further sessions. If we just try to cut price without understanding what activities are taking place that don't add value to the customer as the customer sees it, we will always give away our margin. If we can help our people and our management team to understand the concept of non-value added, we create the opportunity to remove those wastes from our operations and to provide the value that the customer wants. In simple terms, if we think about value add and non-value add activities, ask yourself, would you put your hand in your pocket, take out your money and give it to somebody to do things that are not value adding? Because in actual fact, you are. If your people are doing non-value added activities, you are effectively putting your hand in your pocket and giving away your margin. It's important, if we're trying to identify non-value added, that we understand what these wastes are. That we understand and create a way to identify them and to remove them from our operations. We've spoken in lesson 1, we will speak in further lessons about the use of benchmarking, about buyer needs identification, to help us as a management team in our companies to identify the wastes, to take them from the darkness into the light, and to find a way to remove them from our operations so that we retain more of the value. To be able to do this, we must understand and use best practice lean ideas. Today in the world, best practice is usually called lean. Lean manufacturing, lean business, lean service, lean product development. If we don't take the time and the opportunity to learn about these tools and techniques, it becomes very difficult for our people to provide the products to our customers at the best value, at the least amount of effort, to maximize the amount of value that we retain in our company. And these lessons will help us deliver on that process. If we talk about pricing policy, it's important to realize that the market sets the price for products and services. We as a customer, as a supplier, we don't set the price. The market sets the price. Imagine you want to buy a car. Imagine you go to the marketplace. And imagine you wanted to buy a Golf, Corolla, Ford Focus type car, a middle-sized car. If you went to the market and wanted to charge many thousands of euro or dollars more than the standard price that the market sees for your product, chances are you would not sell many of those cars. To sell within a market segment, the market has decided what the market sees as being an appropriate value for that product, for that service. Suppliers don't set the market price, the market sets what the market accepts. But it's important to understand as a supplier that there are many different aspects that the buyer can value. Buyers will often value expertise, quality, delivery times, often sometimes higher than price itself. What does this mean? If I am a buyer and I can identify a supplier that has a specific expertise, an ability that puts them ahead of others, I might be very interested to create a long-term partnership with that supplier, because I know that that supplier will continue to drive forward, will continue to try to do better, will continue to try to lever that expertise for my benefit in a partnership arrangement. If I've identified a supplier who has extreme levels of quality, who has a level of quality that meets my requirements and my needs, I may value that very highly. I may want to be sure that when I purchase a product or a service from this supplier, that the quality levels will be high, that I do not have to worry about the quality levels that will be delivered. Some buyers end up requiring products delivered at very short lead times, where the ability of a supplier to respond quickly with short delivery times is valued very highly. As an example, you may think of printing, where a lot of companies in the printing field deliver very short lead times, which means that the advertising people, the companies looking for materials to be printed, know they can go to a company and expect very short delivery times. And that's often valued. It's important to realize that price is one of the features that a supplier can supply, But the other questions of expertise, quality, delivery time, responsiveness, closeness to market are also valuable and valued by buyers. The key element here is to strike a balance between the needs of the buyer and the supplier. We're talking about balance. We need to have balance. If the needs and demands of a buyer do not match the needs and abilities of a supplier, you create an imbalance. And effectively, it leads to difficult situations. If the requirements of a supplier, you as a supplier to a big buyer, are not being met by the buyer, you're in a very difficult situation. And the possibility of sustainability over an extended period of time is reduced. We are trying to strike a balance, and that's why this module is talking about partnership as opposed to imbalance. In creating a partnership, it's important to prepare for and ask yourselves, what is going to happen if? What will happen if commodity prices rise? As a supplier to a buyer, what if my cost of raw materials changes significantly? How will my buyer deal with that fact? Will I have to absorb all those costs, or will I have an opportunity to discuss with my customer to explain and to discuss how we can create an opportunity to balance between the two of us? What is going to happen if exchange rates vary? If the exchange rate changes dramatically, my business may become unviable. I might need to talk to my customer to create an opportunity to discuss an increase in price. These questions need to be discussed and in a partnership concept agreed between the buyer and the supplier. What happens if me and my team and my company, you and your team and your company can create a higher quality product? If we move our product, our service, our supply into another level of capability, can we discuss with our customer to get some return for that effort? Or does it in actual fact mean that we secure the business more effectively? Does it give us an opportunity to access further pieces of business because our quality levels have improved? These are the questions we should be asking. What happens if? We also need to ask what happens if the quantity required improves. How can we discuss with our customers that we get some visibility so that we can prepare, so that we can plan, so that we can deliver increased quantities at the quality level, at the price levels? It's important that price should be by agreement. It should not be a case where the price is set. It should be discussed so that an agreement is reached in terms of what is an acceptable price. Obviously, there will always be tensions between the buyer and the seller. But as I said earlier, the market sets the price, but the price should be something that we can work to and with over a period of time. In today's marketplace, we're seeing very many technological improvements, and we need to prepare for this and have this as a key part of our partnership arrangement between our buyers and our suppliers. If one thing is for sure today, technology is constantly improving. But this puts pressure on the relationship, the partnership that builds. Most buyers want our suppliers today to innovate, to improve, and to develop product and processes. No longer is it enough to say, yes, I will buy a product from you because. Because today the pressure is on for us as suppliers to constantly improve. How can we, working with our people, working with our knowledge, in building our knowledge, find ways to innovate in our product, to improve our product and our process, but also to develop our product and processes? If we find a better way to produce, we should be going to our customer and explaining. We should be suggesting. We should be thinking of ways that we can find a better product and a better process. If we think of the business today, and we look at the card industry as an example, Many of the large car manufacturers rely on their suppliers to develop subsystems, to develop products and sub-products that can be built into their cars so that they can provide better value to their customers. So there's a significant reliance on the supplier to develop what they do and how they do it for the betterment of all. UNIDO in the SPX system is trying to create buyer-supplier linkages, where through partnership and through agreement and through people working together, there can be a sharing of expertise. Once again, in today's world, this expertise is available. But one must be careful that there are agreements in place for the transfer and the sharing of expertise, so that a degree of fairness, a degree of understanding exists between the buyers and the suppliers. It's important to realize that sometimes as you develop your capability and as your people develop their capability, the sharing can be and will be both ways. Big companies don't know everything. Small companies don't know everything. And working together in a partnership arrangement, it's possible to share expertise and to learn with and from each other. By creating agreements for this transfer and sharing of knowledge, creating agreements for the transfer and sharing of equipment, of processes, we move to protect everyone. We need to protect to ensure that there's fairness and consistency in how things are done. Because to be honest as well, today there is no need to reinvent the wheel. If somebody has found a way to do something properly and effectively, why not share? Why not take the opportunity to say, hey, we have a way. Do you know this? Maybe we can share how this is done, how this is achieved, how to do something better, effectively to reduce the non-value adding, to increase the value adding element of the work that we are doing. Sharing will only take place where there is understanding, where there is agreement, and where there is also mutual benefit. Let's be clear in that understanding. A big company does not want to share its expertise with a small company unless it can get some benefit in better supply, more secure service, better delivery times, better quality. By the same token, a small company who has identified a means and a mechanism to improve a process wants to get some benefit for its company by sharing its expertise with its buyers. And on that process, by creating agreements for this transfer of shared understanding, it allows security for all concerned. The concept of total quality management is a very viable concept in today's world. And in the course of these lessons, we will make you aware of total quality management, but we will not make any desire to go into the great depth of what it is. We will explain to you and show you some of the fundamental elements and practices to help you and your people drive forward. The basic fundamental of total quality is a mindset. And the mindset is a zero defects approach. This is a strange concept where effectively people say we want to do things right all the time, every time. Years ago, many companies used to set a defect standard, how many products they accepted as being out of specification, not being right. And people used to have arguments at management levels for lots of time to say, would a 2% or a 3% or a 5% defect rate be acceptable? The Japanese a number of years ago decided actually, if you thought about it, 0 was the quality level that was acceptable. 0 defects, not a percentage, 0. Because they believed that their customers always wanted to get a good product. And if you think about it and think about yourself, chances are you do not want a bad product. There was a story told many years ago about an American supplier who began to supply to Japan. And he demanded a quality level of the Japanese company. And he said, I want 5% quality defects, no more. And the Japanese man said, I don't understand. He said, I want 5%. And the Japanese man did not understand. And he arrived with his product to bring to his American customer. And he had 95 good ones in a box, and he had 5 good ones in a box. And the customer said, these are my 5 bad ones, are they? He said to the Japanese supplier. The Japanese supplier said, no, these are 5 good ones, but you wanted 5 in a box separate that you thought would be bad. We only want to give you good products. So total quality talks about a zero defect mentality. It's important to realize that quality is closely linked to customer satisfaction. How a customer sees your product is closely related to how the quality of that product is. If it's a poor quality product, they will see you as a poor quality supplier. And it's important that we understand that if we want to try to achieve high levels of customer satisfaction. It's important also that significant competitiveness gains can be made by improving customer service. If we move to give good quality customer service, it forces us as a company, as an organization, as a group of people to be competitive. If we're going to give good service and good products, we have to do it well, do it efficiently, do it on time. And that helps us in our desire to be better. And thirdly, staff involvement is a major factor. If our people are not committed with us and to us to delivering quality products to our customers, it will be very difficult for management alone to deliver top quality. If, however, we decide collectively that we will drive towards delivering top quality on time to our customer as a group of people committed to an ideal, then it's possible for us to drive forward, to learn from good practice and to find ways to deliver. Without staff involvement, we are at a major disadvantage. All you would then have would be measured quality, and that does not lead to high levels of customer satisfaction. Throughout the UNIDO SPX system, we are talking about action based on facts. In the quality situation, we must ask ourselves, what are the facts of our quality? We must understand what quality does the customer expect. If we don't understand what they expect, how can we possibly deliver the right quality to them? We must understand that the quality is defined by the customer. The customer who chooses to buy cheap products with poor quality in them, but at a price, maybe accepts the fact that he is buying a poor quality product. The customer who pays a lot of money for what they perceive as a high quality product expects that to be a high quality product. And if they don't get what they paid for, they become quite upset. So it's important for us to understand that the customer sets the quality level. Big question for us today, for each of us today, is what is our current level of quality? What is our status? Can we deliver at 1% quality, at 99% quality, or at 99.99999% quality? What is our current status? What was our status, and where do we want our status to be as we go forward? If we're trying to understand quality and where our issues are, and we want the facts of the situation, we must capture and analyze the reasons for defects. We must understand what is going wrong. We must understand what our customers see as going wrong. We must understand, is it a manufacturing fault? Is it a sales fault? We must understand and analyze what is going wrong so that we can take countermeasures, so that we can do things to stop it happening again. I made a comment just there about, is it a manufacturing issue or is it a sales issue? Because quite often we have to be clear that the customer may have been sold something that did not quite meet their requirements. And maybe what they were sold was not conveyed back to the manufacturing facility. And if in the manufacturing facility we do not know what the customer has bought, it is very difficult for the manufacturing people to provide exactly what the customer needs. And all these issues, it will be down to communication, and this will be dealt with in some detail in one of the later lessons. Our countermeasures need to be effective to reduce waste and rework. We want to make a product right the first time. We want to understand what makes a product right the first time so that we can reduce our waste. Very few people want to waste their time. Very few people want to waste their material. And having to rework materials, having to rework product, or having to throw product into the bin because it's pure waste, or having to sell it at a lower cost, a lower price, does nothing to us to retain more value for our business. We must work to understand what are the facts so that we can reduce the waste and the rework. As we gain experience, as our people gain experience, we will build our expertise. And one of the key objectives of the UNIDO SPX approach is to build the expertise, to build the capacity, to build the capability in the developing world. It's important that we build this expertise because that expertise creates a basis to allow companies to move forward, to retain more value, to create more value locally in the developing world, and thereby to move forward. If we don't choose to build expertise, we'll just be always a me too supplier. If we build expertise, the possibilities for the world are immense as we move forward. In conclusion, on the total quality introduction, the point is about building your own, your personal, total quality ethos. If you don't build your own ethos of quality, it will always be somebody from outside your business telling you what they want. In actual fact, you need to take control of your own quality. Your people need to agree and work with you to build that quality, and it becomes something that your company drives with and for itself into the future. We've heard of quality over the years. We've heard of client certification procedures over the years. I'm sure you have heard of ISO 9000, the International Standards Organization for Quality, the quality standard ISO 9000. It's important we believe that it's understood that ISO 9000 is not a goal in itself. To have a certificate, to have somebody say that you are at a level of quality is not a goal. It is a means and a mechanism to help you and your people drive your improvement process going forward. In today's world, many buyers expect ISO certification before doing business. It is a sine qua non. To do business with a company, you must have ISO in many cases today. They do this because they regard it as a qualifier for getting business. A buyer can be comfortable that the supplier understands many of the concepts underlying quality so that they can be sure that they will get good product on time, consistently from the company. The best companies are using the quality systems as an active tool to drive quality improvement. They're not just saying we have a certificate, we meet the basic fundamental requirements. They're actually using the system as an active tool to help them drive their capability, to drive their people, to drive their systems, to deliver better and better products day by day, week by week into the future. If you use the ISO system as a passive tool, you can have the certification. You will have the ability to supply to many international buyers. If you use it as an active tool, you will have all of those things. But you will also have a very structured approach to help you and your people drive your capability going forward. We're now talking about organization of work, and we've talked about people and driving people and leading people. And leadership is a key element of this, but how we organize our people, how we organize our facility and our resources is majorly important. It's important to look at how you organize your people, your organization, and your departments. We would suggest that you look strongly at reducing compartmentalization, that you look at your business as a whole business as opposed to a series of separate departments. It's important to think in this way because very few businesses rely on just one department to deliver value to their customer. And unless everybody understands how they contribute to the overall customer perception of value, it will not be possible for them to work as a team, as a group of people. We're talking about partnership with the customer and the suppliers, but it's very important we have the same level of partnership within a business, where everybody realizes that they are working together in a partnership basis to deliver value for the business and to sustain their jobs and improve their jobs going into the future. It's important, because the world is moving forward, to look at your facilities, to look at upgrading your workshop, to look at upgrading your tooling and equipment, to look at upgrading your systems. As you create some value from your products and your interaction with your customers, you should consider how much of that value you will reinvest into your operation to give you the opportunity to create even more value going into the future. It's important to encourage teamwork. One person can do a lot. Two people can do quite a bit. A group of people working together for a common purpose can do amazing and astounding things. By encouraging teamwork between the parts of your business, you're creating a very active group who can deliver value to your customer and to your business. It's important to improve your processes. What we knew 10 years ago about processes is only a portion of what we know today. It's important to look at your processes, to see how they can be integrated together, how the different elements of producing a product can actually be integrated to reduce and remove the non-value adding elements that exist. The further lessons will describe how that can be done. We believe also the possibility to share what you're thinking, to have staff meetings, regular staff meetings, where the team can understand the objectives, the challenges, the progress, can be very helpful to actually improving the business and delivering on effectiveness and efficiency going forward. It's important to discuss work practices. A simple little story. A manager in an Irish company, as a small example, knew the steps to make his product. I spoke with him. 20 minutes later he said, yes, there are 5 steps to make my product. We went down to the factory floor and we found 45 steps. The difference between the 5 steps and the 45, the manager knew 5 steps. In actual fact, there was 45 steps to produce the product. He had priced the product at 5 steps. It was taking 45 steps. He was losing margin. He needed to understand what was being done. Discussing work practices, what's actually happening on the shop floor, is important and essential. And later lessons will provide you with the tools and the techniques to be able to do that. It's important to investigate solutions to problems, to go hunting problems, to find answers, to look for answers, as opposed to running away from them. It's important and helpful to strengthen collaboration, cooperation, and staff involvement. You might be good, but you with your team is much stronger than you alone. It's important to develop employee skills, commitment, and adaptability. By building the skills of your people, you create the opportunity to be able to deliver more value to your customers. Look at just-in-time practices, once again explained in later lessons. To look and see, is it possible to shorten manufacturing cycle times? To create smoother process flows? To reduce the stock being held? Material, time, or money? How can we find ways to reduce the stock? And all of these will be dealt with in later lessons. And by reducing the amount of time it spends to make a product, reducing the amount of stock being held, reducing the amount of flows, simplifying the manufacturing cycles, it gives an opportunity to lower costs and either provide your product to your customer at a lower price or actually to increase your margin. while reducing the reserve stocks that you need to hold to be able to supply to your customer effectively and efficiently. Just-in-time helps you reduce space. It improves the relationship between the customer and the supplier. If your customer becomes comfortable that it's possible to get good, rapid throughput at lowest possible prices, they are very unlikely to go looking for other sources of supply. And the use of the just-in-time tools can increase your flexibility in adjusting to changes in demand. It's very difficult for buyers to understand what they need into the future. By creating the ability within your business to be able to flex, it provides a great asset to your customers to be able to rely on you to be able to meet the changes in demand that they are going to face in the marketplace. Sustainability. Sustainability has become a big issue in today's world in many different ways. The environment is very important. It's important to understand this and to understand that today's marketplace, many customers, many buyers are very, very interested in how you and your business deal with the environmental issues. It's important to realize and understand that the rules and laws are becoming stricter. What was understood and what was acceptable 10 years ago is widely not acceptable today. In many of the more advanced markets in the world, buyers are putting down the air miles, the miles, the amount of energy being used to produce a product. The rules in terms of packaging and waste are becoming stricter, and what was acceptable is just no longer becoming acceptable. It's important to be aware of these changes and to be preparing and planning so that you can sustain your business in the light of the changing laws. More and more customers are challenging on the question of sustainability. They're asking the questions: what are you doing? What is your policy? What actions are you taking as a company to be able to be more sustainable? And if you have prepared an answer, you're in a position to answer those questions. If you haven't prepared answers, another potential supplier has an opportunity to take what could have been your business. It's important for us individually and in companies to understand and develop our sustainability, to understand what we can do to make a difference and how we can drive forward. Be aware of the ISO 14000 standard. As we had the ISO 9000 for quality, there's a standard ISO 14000 for the environmental issues. Become aware of it. Begin to think of responses. Begin to move you and your people, your business, your company into a position where you can answer these questions to your buyers. This concludes Lesson 2, the UNIDO SPX Partnership. Further details will be presented on many of these topics in the following lessons. Thank you very much.